Welcome to the deep dive. We are so incredibly glad you're here joining us today.
Absolutely. It's great to be here.
And, usually we are jumping across all sorts of different articles, research papers, maybe some books.
Right.
But today we are doing something a little bit different. We are pulling all of our insights from just one single, incredibly comprehensive source.
Just one.
Yeah, just one. It's a detailed Wikipedia article breaking down the 1982 to 1983 National Hockey League season. And honestly, if you're looking for the ultimate breakdown of the Wayne Gretzky records, the Islanders dynasty, and NHL history, this is exactly what you want.
It really is. And for those of you listening who might be wondering why we are dedicating an entire deep dive to one specific 80-game stretch of hockey from over 40 years ago.
Right, like why this specific year?
Exactly. Because this particular season is basically the ultimate masterclass in how eras transition. If you want to understand how massive paradigm shifts happen, whether that is in the sports world, a corporate business environment, or just in broader culture, this season is the perfect case study.
It's the blueprint.
It really is.
Yeah.
It marks the second longest period of stability in league history, which is surpassed only by the original six era. And that stability begins right after the franchise shifts of this very season.
So our mission today is to figure out why this exact moment in time was such a massive turning point. Because when you look at the facts, it really was the perfect storm.
A total collision of past and future.
Right. You have this dramatic changing of the guard where the absolute legends of the old days finally step away. You have some genuinely bizarre safety and uniform changes that literally change the physical look of the game.
Oh, the uniforms.
We will get to those, believe me. And maybe most excitingly, you have an unstoppable, record-breaking offensive machine running headfirst into an immovable dynasty.
It's a textbook example of what happens when raw, disruptive innovation collides with an entrenched, battle-tested establishment.
Exactly. So let's start with that changing of the guard, because this brings up a fascinating piece of trivia from our source.
Oh, the original six connection.
Yes. This 82-83 season marked the absolute final end of the original six era's on-ice presence.
Which is wild to think about.
Right. Prior to the great expansion of the league, there were just those six foundational teams. And the very last remaining players who actually played in that gritty, pre-expansion era, they all retired after this exact season.
Yep.
We are talking about Carol Vednis, Serge Savard, and Wayne Cashman.
And it's a profound shift. You have to realize what the original six represented to the sport.
Yeah.
It was smaller, it was more intimate, and incredibly brutal.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone knew everyone, and the rivalries were deep-seated. So those retiring players, they were the last living link on the ice to that foundational bedrock.
The end of an epoch.
Truly. And it's fitting that Wayne Cashman was the absolute last one to hang up his skate.
Because of how his season ended, right?
Right. His final run ended when the Boston Bruins lost in the Wales Conference Finals. When he stepped off the ice for the final time, an entire era of professional hockey officially closed.
You could almost hear the door shutting.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this, because while the prestigious old guard is gracefully exiting stage left, the league itself is dealing with some awkward growing pains.
Awkward is one word for it.
Yeah, especially when it comes to its visual identity. Our source highlights a genuinely quirky aesthetic change right at the end of this season. The NHL actually had to step in and officially ban long pants.
Ah, the infamous long pants.
I mean, can we just pause and picture this? You have guys playing arguably the most violent, high-speed collision sport on Earth.
Right.
And for a brief moment, the Philadelphia Flyers and the Hartford Whalers are out there looking like they're wearing track pants.
Disco trousers on ice.
Yes. They had been experimenting with these full-length pants instead of the traditional short hockey pants and socks. But the league completely banned them at the end of the year.
Due to player safety concerns, naturally.
Naturally.
What's fascinating here is how these two seemingly unrelated elements, the retirement of the last original six players and the banning of these experimental uniform choices, really go hand in hand.
How so?
Well, they both symbolize the NHL standardizing and modernizing its identity. The Wild West days of holding on to the ancient past or trying out entirely untested gear just to stand out, they were ending.
I see.
Think of it like a scrappy startup finally going corporate and instituting a dress code. They were consolidating their image for a new era.
And they couldn't have players slipping all over the ice in synthetic long pants.
Definitely not.
And that corporate consolidation wasn't just happening with uniforms, it was happening with the literal map of the league. The geographical chaos right before this season started was intense.
Massive shifts.
Yeah, you had the Colorado Rockies packing up and moving entirely across the country to East Rutherford, New Jersey.
Right, to become the New Jersey Devils.
Exactly, which forced a whole domino effect.
Because you can't just drop a team on the East Coast without rebalancing the divisions.
Right. To make room for the Devils in the Patrick Division, the league forced the Winnipeg Jets to leave the Norris Division and move into the Smythe Division to take Colorado's old spot.
And the research points out the Jets were incredibly reluctant about this.
Oh, they hated it.
I wouldn't blame them.
Eh.
You were suddenly forced to travel significantly longer routes to the West Coast, all because a team 1,000 miles away decided to pack up for New Jersey.
It's brutal for travel.
Yeah.
But as crazy as that is, it pales in comparison to the Saskatoon near miss.
Oh, this is a great story.
It's like something out of a movie. A guy named Wild Bill Hunter, which, incredible name.
You're great.
He actually tried to purchase the St. Louis Blues, and his explicit intention was to move the entire franchise to Saskatoon.
Right up to Saskatchewan.
Yeah. But the NHL stepped in, completely blocked the sale and the relocation, and the team was instead sold to Harry Ornis.
Who kept them in St. Louis. And to really understand this, you have to look at the league's broader strategy. At this exact moment, they are trying to secure major national television deals in the U.S.
Right, they need the big markets.
Exactly. Saskatoon is a passionate hockey market, no doubt, but it does not offer the corporate footprint of St. Louis.
Yeah, the media market size just isn't there.
So by blocking the move to Saskatoon and finalizing the Devils' relocation to the New York metropolitan area, the league map was set.
And that locked in that massive period of stability we mentioned earlier. No team would relocate again until 1993.
Precisely.
So the boardroom map is set, the long pants are banned, the old guard has retired. Let's actually look at the hockey being played on the ice.
Because it was chaotic in the best way.
Complete chaos in the arenas. The regular season was just dominated by absolute juggernauts. First, you have the Boston Bruins.
A classic powerhouse.
Yeah, they led the entire league in overall points with 110, and they were backed by their goaltender, Pete Peters, who ended up winning the Vezina Trophy.
Which goes to the league's best goaltender.
Right. He was the classic, stable backbone of a traditionally built team.
But as great as Boston was, the real story of the regular season was out west.
Oh, man. Edmonton.
The Oilers.
They were doing things that literally broke the math of the sport.
They really did.
I mean, they finished tied for second overall in points, but it's the sheer volume of their offense. They scored an NHL record 424 goals.
424. That is an average of over 5 goals every single game.
Which is just absurd.
For context, most teams are thrilled to score 3 goals a night. Edmonton was playing a fundamentally different sport. It was a level of production that traditional defensive systems had no blueprint for.
And the architect of that explosive offense was Wayne Gretzky. I actually had to reread the research when prepping for this deep dive because I thought the numbers were a typo.
They always look like a typo.
He finished with 196 total points, 71 goals, and 125 assists.
Unbelievable.
And naturally, he swept the major awards. He won the Hart Memorial Trophy for MVP, the Art Ross for top scorer, and the Lester B. Pearson Award.
And to really grasp what Gretzky was doing, you have to look at the rest of the league.
The next closest guys.
Right. Peter Stastny had an incredible season, finishing second with 124 points. Dennis Savard had 121. Mike Bossy had 118.
Hall of Fame numbers for all of them.
Exactly. Those are career-defining numbers. Stastny was having the season of his life. Yet, he was trailing Gretzky by 72 points.
72 points.
If Stastny was a millionaire, Gretzky was a billionaire. It's not just being better, it's existing in a completely different statistical universe.
It's unfathomable. But the craziest part is it wasn't just a one-man show in Edmonton.
Not at all.
When you look at the roster, they had their own four horsemen. They tied the 1970 to 1971 Bruins record by having 4 players score over 100 points.
On a single team.
Yes. You had Gretzky with his 196, Mark Messier with 106, Glenn Anderson with 104, and Jerry Curry with 104.
Insane depth.
When your fourth best scorer is breaking 100 points, something is broken in the matrix.
This is exactly what disruptive innovation looks like on the ice. This represents a massive shift in the sport's overarching meta.
How so?
Well, for decades, hockey had heavily relied on grinding, defensive, highly physical play. Think of the Broad Street Bullies.
Oh, yeah. Rough and tumble.
Right. But Edmonton was proving that hyper-offense was becoming the new standard. They relied on pure speed, flow, and skill,
Just outrunning everybody.
showing the league that if you assemble enough pure firepower, you don't need to grind out wins. You can simply outscore any traditional system.
Which brings us to the postseason, the climax. The stakes were incredibly high.
The highest they'd been in years.
And there were big firsts happening off the ice, too. The Washington Capitals finally qualified for the playoffs for the first time in franchise history.
A huge milestone for them.
And it was also the first season of a U.S. national broadcast deal with the USA Network.
Meaning way more eyes on the product than ever before.
Exactly. The whole country was tuning in, and the finals matchup was exactly what TV executives would have dreamed of.
The perfect narrative clash.
You have the high-flying 424-goal Edmonton Oilers. They had easily swept through Winnipeg, beat Calgary, and beat Chicago to get to the finals.
They looked completely unstoppable.
And waiting for them were the defending champions, the New York Islanders.
The established dynasty.
Right. So you have the ultimate offensive machine going up against the immovable object. You would expect a 7-game blood-and-guts war.
A clash of titans.
But that is not what happened. Despite the record-breaking offense, the Islanders completely shut down Edmonton. They swept them. 4-0.
A shocking result for a lot of people watching.
I mean, a sweep, really.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the magnitude of this victory really hits. By beating the Oilers, the Islanders won their 4th Stanley Cup in a row.
4 in a row.
It remains to this day the last time that any major professional North American sports team has won 4 consecutive playoff championships.
Wait, hold on. Let me just wrap my head around this.
Yeah.
You're telling me a team that averaged over 5 goals a game, a team with 4 100-point players, didn't manage to win a single game in the finals.
Not a single one.
Was Edmonton just choking under the pressure, or did the Islanders actually figure out a cheat code?
It wasn't a choke. It was a tactical masterclass by the establishment. The Islanders didn't try to outscore Edmonton. They played a brutal, suffocating trap game.
So they just choked out the offense.
Exactly. They forced Gretzky out of the middle of the ice. They used their institutional knowledge to force Edmonton into playing a grinding style they simply weren't built for yet.
Wow.
The insight here is that raw innovation often loses to disciplined execution in its first major encounter. The Islanders were a perfectly tuned machine. Edmonton relied on overwhelming talent, but the Islanders relied on a flawless system.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? What can we actually take away from this 80-game stretch of hockey?
There's a lot to unpack.
I think the 82-83 season is a perfect mirror for how transitions happen anywhere. You see the literal old guard making way for the new, with the original 6 players stepping off for the final time.
Yep.
You see structural consolidation, like franchises moving to better TV markets, standardizing uniforms, and most importantly, you see what happens when raw innovation clashes with an established system.
And that clash is exactly what I want to highlight as our final thought for today.
Lay it on us.
Wayne Gretzky collected almost every single regular season accolade. His 196 points clearly represented the hyper-offensive future of the sport.
The shiny new thing.
Right. But when the dust settled on the Stanley Cup Finals, the Conn Smythe Trophy for playoff MVP didn't go to Gretzky.
It didn't go to any of the 400-point guys.
No, it went to Billy Smith, the gritty, fiercely competitive goaltender for the New York Islanders.
The goalie who shut down the greatest offensive machine in history.
Exactly. So here is a question for you to mull over today. When the ultimate offensive machine meets a perfectly tuned defensive system in a high-stakes environment, the defense still walked away with the sweep.
Yeah.
What does that tell you about the limits of individual flashy metrics when faced with a collective, battle-tested system?
That is such a fantastic point to end on. Individual brilliance might break all the records, but a calibrated system wins you the championship 4 times in a row.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you uncovered some surprising facts and gained a brand new perspective on how massive eras transition. Until next time, keep asking questions and keep diving deep.